really wonderful to see such a beautiful, crowded room. I just love it, so it's really great. Senza Nome's focus this year is on the feminine, and we've sung a lot of, worked on a lot of music by female composers, and we've, in part because of Christmas, but also just because of our theme, we've done some tributes to Eve and to the Mother Mary and this type of thing. So our Ave Maria today is a celebration of the feminine in all of us. And I love the line that Roy read, I have given birth to many things before, that he mentioned in his opening comments. So as you listen to this beautiful Ave Maria by Sally Albrecht, I invite you to go inward and to celebrate the mothers in your life and your own feminine perspective.
As we begin this time of meditation, so that we are not fumbling around and disrupting the chain of thought, as it were, what you have are the old songbooks from Unity. Unity doesn't necessarily use them. Some congregations do, some don't. And I would ask that at Sarah's passing, some of them out now. Let's get the logistics straight here. And I'm sorry to interrupt your flow, which I asked us not to do, but I think it's better this way if we all know what it is that we're saying. A responsive reading is when a leader calls out and the community responds. It's like a bell. It's like a verbal bell. And we used to do it in Unity a good bit. And I thought maybe just for the Advent season, we would try and do this again. It's very simple. I'm the leader, and I'll read what's starting on page 523. So let's begin with the basics, if you will. Please turn to page 523. It's at the very back of the hymnal, long after the hymns have sung their last hymn. And again, you may share. There's nothing hard about this. What I would ask you to do is I'm going to say a prayer honoring Advent first, and then what I'll do is lead you right into the responsive reading. But first, what I'd like you to do is find page 523, and it's the Advent Blessing Responsive Prayer at the very bottom of 523. Okay, I'll be the leader, you'll respond. You've done this before, I know. And then Barbara is going to enhance this verbal bell rung from the heart from all of us, and keep that in mind as you move forward in consciousness with an affirmation in another medium, music of the heart. And this particular season that we are moving into, this Christmas season, is Christmas from the heart. And I look out at this community, and that's why I have a little something in my throat, and I think, you're awesome. This is Christmas from the heart. I appreciate that you have the Advent wreath. There are 2 candles there. This is the second Sunday in Advent. I know you all know this, but it bears repeating, probably for me more than anyone. And we talk and we'll speak and co-create around peace. Peace is extremely, I won't say important, I'll say peace is. Peace is something that we all wish, that we all yearn for, but sometimes find elusive. So let us begin with a prayer for peace. And I just ask that you get into the consciousness of peace and be the consciousness of peace. I light a candle of peace in my heart. Here in my sacred place of prayer, I let the flicker of peace grow until there is a steady flame burning within me, a flame of peace. Peace is the watchword of my soul as I prepare for spiritual rebirth. I open my heart to peace now, to the peace of the Christ presence within me. I am a center of peace, centered in the presence of God. I know that I have the power to be a positive influence in the world. I allow each thought, word, and action to be a blessing of peace. I am a center of peace. Affirming peace in every heart, I make a commitment to radiate a spirit of love and peace. And so now, as we go into our responsive reading, I draw your attention to the Advent Blessing Responsive Prayer. For this holy feast of hope and great expectation, we let the power of our imagination cast blessings on all the events of the days ahead. We dedicate ourselves as channels for the coming of the grace and the truth of the Christ upon earth. We ask God's blessing on our homes, and now together we respond. We invite the prospering activity of the Holy Spirit to bless our homes with warmth, order, and love. We ask God's special blessing for the children, for their dreams, their hopes, their joy. And together, we bless our children and behold in them the pure joy and beauty of Christ's love. We ask the blessings of divine graciousness on the Christmas tree and every revered symbol of the holy season. And together, divine love graciously and lavishly supplies the beauty of Christmas. We ask the Spirit of guidance to aid the selection of the gifts we purchase and prepare to give. And together, divine intelligence guides us in the giving and receiving of gifts. We give lovingly and receive graciously. life to bless the preparation of the holiday food. And together, divine love blesses the hand that prepares every sweet morsel and fills every receiver with delight and well-being. We ask God's presence at parties and gatherings of friends and family. And together, divine love brings harmony, enjoyment, and healing love, wherever two or more are gathered in His name, His holy season. We ask the peace of the Christ to manifest in the world this Christmas. Together, the Christ of peace expresses from every human heart, and the earth rejoices in the spirit of brotherhood and our oneness with God. The lights of Christmas symbolize our illumined hearts. We have joined together to prepare for the coming of the Christ. We open our hearts and our minds to this reality. Let the Christ be born in us this day, and together, accept our thankful hearts, O loving God. And now, if you will, just simply receive the Christ. Receive the Christ here and now, whether that be with eyes closed, but please with hearts open, with a consciousness of Christ, the ever-present Christ, here and now, in the each and in the all. And as we allow that, as we open to that presence, that eternal, never-ending possibility, we are gifted, and we are the gift of peace. Peace within ourselves, peace in our world. Feel the peace. Know it. Understand it. Celebrate peace. And now, in the silence, be the peace. Be the peace. Is in this consciousness of peace. I ask you to extend your hand in peace to those persons next to you and gently hold the hand. Both hands hold the peace. Feel it now. Feel it energize. Feel the joy. Feel the peace of God. We give thanks for this time of prayer, of practicing the presence of God, and of knowing the peace and understanding as we connect with one another in joyful celebration of the birth of the Christ in each and in all. Amen. Last year. It's called by Jan Richardson wrote it. It's called Night Visions. And I use it as my Advent guide. It's a marvelous volume. This is what it looks like. I have no idea how old it is now. I know it was given to me in like 2006. But it deals with Advent in a way that I find very comforting. And I recommend it to you because Advent can be a time of darkness, striving for the light, knowing it's there. But really, some folks, and I've been one of them, struggle with the darkness. And the reason I find this book very interesting is it doesn't belabor the darkness, but it honors it. It's part of it all. It says, okay, you're there. I'm on a deal. I might not like it, but I'm going to prepare because I expect and I know the light of Christ in me, just as you do. And I think that Advent is such a marvelous time. It's, for me, like Lent, of preparing for the birth or the rebirth of the Christ in each of us. And we spend this time prior to Christmas getting ready. Now, what I'm going to bring with me today is my new understanding of getting ready. And I'm going to do it in the context of a peaceful getting ready, because I think that the peace of readiness is not always considered as we move forward in this time. I think that what we sometimes do is belabor, and I've seen it done more than once, the getting ready and the productivity of being ready. Ready for the Christmas tree, got the wreath up, got the gifts, bought the toys. Are you ready in your heart? Are you ready in your heart? And some of you may say, well, what does that mean? You know what that means, folks. Are you ready in your heart? This group this morning was as joyful as I've known you ever to be. Jolly good stuff. And you don't get to be jolly good stuff in that kind of consciousness unless you've done some preparation, some work. You all know, you've probably been to parties and social gatherings where sure there's a lot of laughter, ho, 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 backslapping, how we doing, yada, yada. There's not a lot of preparation in that kind of expectation. We are talking, of course, Advent, which is the preparation for the birth and the rebirth of the Christ in each of us, in our world. And in our world today, you've heard this over and over, what shall we do? It's just getting worse. Every other day, there's one more negative thing. And I would add on to that, including you that are moaning about one more negative thing. You've added to the mix. Now, for those of you that just heard me say, the reason I like Jan Richardson is because she owns the darkness. is because I'll own that on a good day. I'm ticked. I'm angry. What's wrong with the world? What is the problem, people? Does that make it any less dark? No. What it does, however, for me is said, Sandy, wake up. You have work to do. You have peace work to do, which is my title of my talk this week. And since peace is the, quote, thought for the day, I ask you and I challenge you to make it the thought for every day. It is the basis for how you move through life. Do you have a peaceful heart? Do you have a peaceful mind? Wayne Muller, if you know Wayne Muller, I'm very fond of his writing. He believes that we may now be moving into what he calls the binary system of I and it. Some of us were educated with, I think it's, Kay, we would know this, is it Martin Buber with I and thou? Yes. Well, Wayne Muller is saying, I think we're into I and it. It's the cell phone. That's what the it is. It's I and my cell phone. In other words, he's not bashing cell phones, but he is saying, we don't even have the I and the now. We have the I and the it. We have said it is really about the camp of me and it. And it is anything that I don't like. And when you get into those kinds of camps, and there's still other camps, obviously, of I and thou, me and you and them, those camps, those, my friends, as Deepak Chopra would say, are the roots of war. As soon as we get into those camps of them and me, we have separated from the peaceful coexistence and co-creation in spirit. You know, we talk about co-creation. I do. I know probably some people say ad nauseum. There is no ad nauseum in co-creation. It's all the time. It's 24/7. It is. We are co-creating with spirit every day, all day. The question becomes, what is it you are co-creating? And are you doing it in spirit? Or are you co-creating an I, it, an I, thou mentality? A you, me. Now, there's a lot more to the philosophy behind and the theology of I and thou, and I'm not here to make a Cliff Notes out of that. I'm here only to demonstrate the separation that we can get into with you and me, with that camp over there and this camp over here, and oh, by the way, this camp over here. And as soon as we start dividing up into camps, we are at war with ourselves and we are at war. Now, some of you may say, well, that kind of seems rather dramatic, Reverend Sandy. And I would submit to you, no, and Deepak Chopra and I are on the same page with this. It's war. You have parts. You have separated into parts. There is nothing peaceful about that. Because it denies our oneness of self, our oneness in God. And when we deny that, when we actually begin to create that, we wonder why we feel physically ill, mentally challenged or upset, and emotionally all over the map. Decisions are hard to make. There's judgments flying around in the face of whatever. I'm bringing these to you now because I know I have been a part of congregations. I have even spoken to communities where the subject of peace is one where people want, I want you to speak to it, I want you to be firm about it, and I want an answer. How peaceful is that? Looking for some sort of emotional explosion that's peaceful. It's all ego. And what does ego thrive on generally? Logic. Tell me why. Tell me why. There is no co-creation of the consciousness that says, tell me who you are. Tell me what you think, how you feel. And I've had folks say to me, oh, really? Come on, Reverend Sandy. You think I'm going to get on the bus and ask the guy next to me, how are you? What do you think? How do you feel? I didn't say that. I asked you, and I'm asking myself along the way, do I have in every given moment the consciousness of peace, which does not tolerate my being at war with myself or anyone else? Am I constantly nurturing? Am I constantly loving and uplifting a consciousness of peace? Am I walking in spirit all of the time? And yes, most of us can say, I think, yeah, at least I'm giving it a shot. I'm trying. No, I'm not doing it 24/7. And I'm asking you to up the ante and strive for 24/7. I'm not asking you to give it a shot. Because when you say I'm giving it a shot, when I say, well, I'm willing, that's great, but it ain't cutting it. And some may really sit up in their seats and say, I don't like that, Reverend Sandy, I don't like that. Then please, please, ask yourself, are you at war with yourself? And what does that mean? At war with yourself means, in my world, not telling the truth and not listening. And I'm going to hone in on those two, because not being at peace means a lot of things to a lot of people. But for right now, I'm going to hone in on not telling the truth and not listening. And I'm honing in on it because I've done a lot of meditation, I've done a lot of reading, and right now I am quoting from a lot of what Wayne Muller has put out in his book. And some of you may have read it. I'm searching for it here. It's an older book. It's not The Path. It's I'll find it when I come upon it here. But that book, I'm also focusing on Fillmore and some of that Emily Cady's work. And the reason I chose to go there was I realized, as I'm speaking to you, I don't always tell the truth. And it's my truth of omission. I was raised, and maybe some of you were, now you don't have to tell the truth all the time. You just do it in a nice fashion. And I got that a lot, because I tend to be rather direct. Just tone it down a little, will you? I'm not saying that there's not a way of having a gentle delivery. I'm saying, do you tell your truth? Or do you dumb it down or wrap it up for Christmas so it will please somebody else? Think of the many, many celebrations you are going to attend. Some of them will be absolutely delightful. And then there's those few, including family celebrations, where you wish to heck that ain't gonna happen. I wish I didn't have to go. There are too many memories. There's too much baggage. And I'm saying to you, part of being peaceful is speaking your truth. Do you have to call your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law and say, I'm not coming because I don't like you? No! You laugh, but that's the kind of thing I would have done 20 years ago. I ain't coming, don't like you, you don't do nothing for me. I mean, isn't it? And I wonder why I'm having a rocky holiday. So while I know it's amusing, I'm asking you to search your hearts for what is it that you don't always tell your truth about. Do you slide it over and say, well, I don't want to make her feel bad. I don't think that's necessary. That's not called for right now. Watch yourselves. And that brings me to observing. That's one of the parts of the stool. If you observe yourself, you'll start to catch yourself not telling your truth, the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is you're one, you're whole, and you're perfect. And you have the exact right way internally of speaking your truth. The issue becomes, are you preparing yourself for that? Or are you sitting here saying, I agree. And then you leave and you do absolutely no preparation, or you give it lip service and you start concentrating on the preparation you have to do for your Christmas shopping. That's not the preparation I'm talking about. Do you take your time, your heart time, call it, and say, I'm going to prepare myself, and this is the season I'm going to prepare myself to welcome the Christ in me to be present all the time. That's what the season is about, to bring that Christed self forward. And one of the ways I'm bringing to you this morning is by simply telling your truth. If you don't want to do something, say so. If you do want to do something, if you do want to honor someone, do it. But don't ruminate about it, because what you're setting yourself up for are those roots of war. You're going to be like this. It will become the subject of your consciousness instead of birthing your Christ. The subject of your consciousness will be, well, should I give her that? Well, do I really want to go there? But can I really make that happen? Or you get the overachiever that says, I'll do it all. And they run around most days like a chicken with their head cut off, not meeting deadlines, not making appointments, and not enjoying what they're doing. You see how simple it is, how mundane it is. It's every single day. We have choices, you all know that. The question is, are you mindful of making the choice in the moment? If you're standing and making a decision about your Christmas dinner, are you really focused on whether it's ham or turkey? Have you brought the entire family to bear about who eats ham and who eats turkey and who eats no meat? Or are you focusing on how best to be in service to God, to the Christ in you? And I'm telling you this for a reason, because I have had people say to me, even most recently, you've got to be kidding me. If you think I'm standing 5 deep at Wegmans thinking about the Christ in me when I got decisions to make about ham or turkey, Sandy, no. And now, I'm saying right back, oh, Sandy, yes. I disagree with you, woman in front of the deli. I disagree and take issue with your anger, oh woman in front of the deli. And I want you to know that. Now, there wasn't anything nasty or ugly about what I just said, but I'm responding. And I'm responding from my pleasant self, which allows me the freedom to know I am one with my Christ. It isn't a get back. It isn't a gotcha. It's instead of thinking, oh, she's having a bad day. You see the camps? Camps have already formed. She is having a bad day and I'm going to stand over here. No, I'm engaged. And I'm engaged because I've prepared how I'm going to engage. Not what I'm going to say necessarily. How would I know I can stand in front of the deli at Wegmans with this conversation? But you get my example. And the reason I was able to bring it from a higher level of consciousness, the reason I was even able to bring it, my truth, my disagreement, if you will, was because I had done the preparation of a peaceful and a peace-working time. And what does that look like? And how do I do that? Some of us will go immediately to prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation are very helpful. I also think with prayer and meditation comes stillness. And you may say, well, I have to have it quiet like it was this morning to be still. I have to have that moment. And I spoke to you a little bit about this the last time I was here. I'm finding that you don't necessarily have to. If you have many moments of preparation, prayer and meditation on a regular basis, in those moments that seem free-flowing and back and forth and of camps, the roots of war, you will be able to respond from a higher level of consciousness because you have prepared. And that, my friends, is what I call the message of Advent. When you prepare in order to meet and greet and birth the Christ within you. And you do it on a regular, daily basis in the most mundane situations. See, we think if it's not a monumental deal, if we haven't called mom or the sister-in-law and said, I need to have a meeting, we need to plan out how this holiday's going to go. Stop with that. You're not prepared. You're in a camp. You're at war. You see how easily it sneaks up on us. It comes to us. Besides telling the truth, there's listening. That's a tough one. That is a really difficult time as far as listening is concerned. Especially, I will say, in our technology of I and it. How many times have I spoken to my nieces and nephews, and I am convinced they don't hear a word I say because they're into it. They're hearing what it has to say. They're not hearing what I have to say. Oh, Sandy, did you create a camp? Ah, you say. You see how we all got into it about the phone and the kid, they weren't listening? Turns out those kids could verbatim spell back to me what I said to them. I had created a camp immediately. Those kids and those cell phones and me. And then I got passengers on my train. Yeah, my sister, my brother-in-law. I bet you if I put up a notice out in the hallway of my apartment building, I'd have a line. Let me tell you how I feel about kids and cell phones. Big camps. You wonder why we're at war? You wonder why there's disruption? I think part of it is to do with we don't spend enough time in peace with ourselves. We're warring with ourselves in very, what I call, important ways. I use the word mundane, but if you are a good observer of your own behavior, and I challenge you to become an observer of your own behavior, you will see how often you are at war with yourself over what appears to be something silly. And we brush it under the rug and say, oh, that's silly, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't put that much effort into it. Righto! You should be putting the effort, and there's the should camp. I formed a camp. There's you and me. Should. Put it, Sandy, into preparation in peace. Preparation for peace. Preparation to birth the higher level of consciousness that is yours. If you but allow. If you but allow. So observing is very important. Listening and telling the truth. And I come down on all of these because I think we come closer if we're paying attention to truly what is peace. Are we peaceful people? Just because you're quiet doesn't mean you're peaceful. You can have a raging tumult going on inside you and be so seemingly peaceful. Okay, and sometimes our peace radars come up and we sense that that person is really not what they say they are. That's not the point. You see how quickly I made another camp? That's what we do with those people. They're not authentic, those people. How often have you found yourself being not authentic when it comes to speaking your truth and being in peace with yourself rather than war? And as the expression goes, just saying, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.